Dr. King came in at the end of the convention. He wanted to hang this wreath up high. He asked me if I would do it. And so for the next 3 days, I kept telling my dad, when I grow up, I want to be a black leader, because it was on the front page of the paper today, right? And he said something to me that I never forgot. He said, black folks have leaders, white folks have jobs. You get a job. I inherited the Detroit Association of Black Organizations in 1995 when my father passed. We've been instrumental in addressing health disparities, but what makes us unique is that, we tend to have reliance upon black middle class organizations, bridging that chasm between, those who have more than most and those who have nothing. People talk about the church and have the most negative caricatures of church and preachers. But when it comes to getting something done, elections or whatever, they know we can do it. Put the world on wheels and ran out of gas. It's not like it was. I think UAW's lost almost 4 million jobs. I think there used to be 6 million strong and maybe 2 million now.
When the automotive industry collapsed, it exacerbated poverty here in the city of Detroit. Detroit has the highest level of people who are in poverty and below the poverty line in the country. 50% of our population is illiterate, cannot read. I mean, those go hand in hand. Once a child falls behind, then they're forever behind. The city of Detroit and the Detroit public schools were sued by a friend of mine. And that has to do with lead, the degree to which our kids in this city have been exposed to lead poisoning. It was so bad that the Detroit public schools removed their water fountains and supplied bottled water.
This happened in the 60s, this happened in the 70s. Now here we are in the 2000s, and also 80s, 90s. They move us in and out of our communities.
When we purchase our homes, we think of that going to our grandchildren and our grandchildren and so forth and so on. They're losing that because they have to decide between getting a roof on their home or paying their property tax. You have to go and request that you get a new assessment, and a lot of individuals don't know that they need to go and request that assessment. I didn't know, and I lost my home to the property tax foreclosure.
Detroit has always had an unbelievably high rate of violence. It's just, yeah. We had alternative high schools for several years, and we had almost every gang on the west side under one roof. I would tell you that that's why I began to look at the effect of lead, because of the aggression that these kids have. But they would come at 7 o'clock in the morning ready to take somebody's head off.
I grew up with gangs like Young Boys Incorporated and the Chambers Brothers. And you think about movies like The New Jack City, they were talking about what was going on in my community in the 80s and 90s. I remember being at a community town hall meeting, and they wanted to address gun violence and youth violence in Detroit. And I will never forget, there was a young man in our group. He had to be maybe about 14. And he said, where am I supposed to get money from? Who's supposed to protect me? My gang is my family.
It's been proven that even black folks with money and insurance are treated differently in the system than white folks. The care that white folks get is more aggressive. If you're a black person, you have to beg for a test.
Actually, I can tell you about in the hospital when I was fighting COVID, discrimination as far as overweight people or black people, like all that was happening at the same time too. So I'm advocating for myself. Tell me what's wrong. I think like they weren't telling me. I didn't even know I had kidney failure until this year when I read through my medical records.
We have to take our care in our own hands. It's the difference between life and death.
We've got to flip the curriculum. General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, they have to go and be part of the curriculum change.
We need to, like he says, change what we're taught, credit. Let's start young. Let's start teaching that. Let's teach entrepreneurship. Let's get people with side trades, like side skills, then make it easy for them to acquire that knowledge. So if you build a good foundation, it won't crumble.
We'll change the mindset of young people and they'll start to look at the world different. And they'll be able to control their environment much different.
And it's something that I really am passionate about changing, to say, listen, you don't have to do that, because so many opportunities are lost because of one thing that you may have done, and they don't understand the impact until it's too late. Meet people where they are and try to find out what needs that they have specifically, and then provide resources. We got childhood traumas, we got all kind of issues, people having anxiety, panic attacks that have never even had issues or have even had signs of those issues.
If we could look at reentry the way we look at recovery, the world will change. Ban the box. You have agent members who have lived and been able to excel and enjoy life based on their privilege, whether it was white or money. And then you had everybody else. It wasn't until I moved from principal to prisoner that I understood that.
We do a lot of civic engagement, teaching people where to go to talk to their representatives about, policy change or whatever they want. Because after you get well, I want you to be able to sustain that and be able to advocate and fight for yourselves.
The policy is significant, but I tell them the pen is mightier than a sword. Learn how to write, learn how to read, and push your agenda here where we are. When in Rome, do what the Romans do.